On this episode of the Rugged Homestead, we got chickens coming in next week. We gotta build us a brooder box. I've been telling myself for a while now that I've got to get ready for the chickens to come, and I've been putting it off for some time. So what I'm going to do now is start constructing the box, which is going to be made out of a plastic tote. I've seen all kinds of fancy designs for brooder boxes, but I'm just going to use a simple tote and drill some holes in the lid for ventilation and have a place to mount the heat lamp to keep the chicks warm as they grow. Some of the designs I've seen online use hardware cloth as the ventilation area. You cut out a section of plastic and attach the hardware cloth to the lid, and that gives you the ventilation. I'm going to actually just drill a series of holes across the top here, and that way one side will be cool for the chicks if the heat lamp gets too much, and the other side will be closed and will be the area that has the heat lamp in it. So on the lid, I'm just going to draw out a series of evenly spaced holes across half the top. I'll be using a Forstner bit to drill out the holes. This is a 1.5 inch bit, but you could just as easily use a spade bit, and whatever size that you wanted as well. And there you have it, a ventilated area for the air to escape and the chicks to have some nice ventilation. With the holes drilled in the lid, my initial thought was to use a clamp light with a reflector hood to shine down a bulb onto the chicks to keep them warm, but I learned that white light might not be good for them, and I couldn't find a 100-watt bulb. So I tried a couple of different variations using like a party bulb, a red party bulb, but that didn't generate enough warmth for the chicks. And also I actually tried a floodlight. That also didn't raise the temperature enough for the first week. So then what I did was I ordered from Amazon two heat lamp bulbs, and they're ceramic bulbs. They don't give off light, they just give off heat, and I'll link to them down below. With the holes cut in it, that should provide like light to come in, you know, the ambient light from the room to come into the box. But I also decided I wanted to give them a little bit more light in there, as well as to be able to see them in there. So what I'm actually going to do now is actually mount two sockets to the lid, and I'm going to run extension cords to the thermostat that I have, and that way when the temperature reaches 95 degrees the thermostat will shut it off, and then it can cool down. There's like a 3-degree difference before it kicks back on, so it tends to run up to about 96-97 degrees after it shuts off, just from the continuing heat being emitted by the bulb. And then it drops down to just under 93 degrees. So it's in that 92 plus range. It kicks back on, and it fluctuates in between there. And I think that should be sufficient heat for the first week for the chicks. But I want to put the ceramic bulb into here, and then a second one, the one bulb, the heat bulb over there, the second bulb over here, to put light in there, and that'll be a yellow or a reddish light they'll have, and that way I'll be able to see in and make sure the chicks are doing okay without having to constantly take the lid off. So what I'm going to do is I've cut a piece of plywood, and I'm just going to mount it right onto the lid like this, and then I'll be able to mount the sockets onto the wood without having to worry about them melting the plastic or anything like that. So I've drilled a series of holes around the edge so I can screw it through the lid and hold it in place. So I'm going to now drill through the plastic lid and attach it. And so 4 holes was actually enough to hold that on pretty secure. So now what I'm going to do is wire up the sockets. I'm going to drill a couple of holes in here to feed the electrical cord through, and then wire it up to the sockets, and then mount the sockets to the wood. Now there's no white or black here, obviously, but this is the ribbed side, this is smooth. So I'm going to go with the ribbed as being the black, and the smooth white being the white. Silver is white, brass is power black. This is the rib side, so I'm going to go with black on this one. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. And now we're just going to screw these down into the wood. Okay, these are secure now in the plate. The plate's secured to the lid. And now we can plug them in and test it out. Here's the red party bulb I was going to use, but which didn't produce enough heat. So now I'll use it to light up the interior of the brooder. From what I understand, red tends to be easier on the chick's eyes, so that's why I'm going with the red color. This is the ceramic heat lamp bulb. As I said, it doesn't emit any light, it just emits heat. And we'll screw that into the other end. I should mention, the base on this is what's called an E27. In the US, the standard is E26. There's like your regular light bulb socket or base. And in Europe and elsewhere, China, E27 is the equivalent. So it's slightly different, but it still fits in. All right, so we have both set up in here. So place the lid down on top. Now I've got my extension cords set up here. So I can just plug them in. Nothing seems to be blowing up just yet, which is good. So we're going to run the thermometer through the side and put it at chick level. And that way we'll be able to make sure that the chicks are staying warm. Now, as you might have noticed, that there was a paper towel in there. And for the first week, I'm going to be using a paper towel on the bottom. I have pine shavings for the after that. But by using the paper towels at first, I'll be able to just sprinkle some of the feed on the paper towel, and it'll make it easier for the chicks to eat first until they get accustomed to it, and then I'll be putting a small feeder in there. So as you can see now, I'll be able to see in there and see how they're doing with the red bulb. And looking here, see about the temperature and how it will rise. See, there we go. So it's on its way up now. So on the far end, underneath the red bulb, that'll be where the chicks can get warm. And then down here, they'll be able to cool off. The thermometer has now reached 95 degrees and it's shut off. As we can see, the heating is off. Now the temperature is going to continue to climb. Now because it's higher up in the lid here than when I had the clamp on light, which made it lower, so the temperature really went up, like I said, to 96, 97 degrees. This might not go quite as high because there's a lot more space in there. As you also notice, the red light shut off. I may unplug the red light from the timer or the thermometer and just plug it directly in there so I can see the chicks at all times. Now the temperature hasn't gone up again from that point, so that might just be as high as it goes. Now I'll have to watch to see how low it goes to make sure it doesn't go down too low as it cools off. Yeah, it only went up to 95.1 and now it's at 95.0 again, so the temperature's coming down. It should, when it goes to about 92 degrees, as I said, that heating lamp or that heating light should come on and it should start heating up the interior of the brooder again. So it went down to 92.8 degrees, and as we can see, the light came back on and the heating is back on, but it's also now dropped down to 92.6. So again, we'll see how far it's going to fall. It actually went down to 91.5, 91.7, right around there, and now it's on its way back up. So that shouldn't be too bad. I'd prefer it actually being a little bit higher than that, but from what I understand, between 90 and 95 degrees is sufficient for the first week. So this should be fine. So the chicks are scheduled to arrive tomorrow, and now they'll have a place to live. All right, if you like what you see, give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel if you'd already do so, and ring that alarm bell. And that way you'll be notified right away when videos like this are posted. And check us out on Facebook, where I regularly update on how I'm turning my suburban home into a homestead. Okay, thanks for watching. So the chicks have arrived. We've got 2 Buff Orpingtons, 2 Rhode Island Reds, and 2 Barred Plymouth Rocks. That one back there, he's fond of walking across the water here, so we've named her Jesus.